welcome
Oh, that mean you started then?
right now.
I like doing this, but I don't know if it annoys you or not. But I just every single time.
I don't think
started.
it annoys. It doesn't annoy me as much, but I think it will eventually, considering it is every time. But welcome to a video that I've been making for
12 years now.
It's been in the works for about 2 weeks, but it only really took me a day to make.
That's fine.
But this is a new game mode mission pitch, and I know it's
No. It's just a new mission type. This is news.
Yeah, this is I hacked into Ghost Ship Games and I found these notes written on Mikkel's desk. Don't ask how hacking into it lets me see on his desk. Point is, I have made a new game mode, and
you've designed a new game mode.
Yeah, and I tried to cover
Made implies like a mod.
Yeah, which I'm not sure if that can happen, right? Like,
I don't think
so
it
far
can.
I've not seen anyone make shit like this, right? No, I've seen nobody make a new gun, nobody make a new
had a
game
good
mode.
enough idea.
Yeah, until now, or like a new enemy. It seems like most things just kind of cosmetically change the game. Like the most radical anyone's ever touched up the game was the randomizer mod. But we're getting off track. Point is,
I mean, it's like the biggest mod.
if you watch this and you're like, I want that in the game. Modders, let's talk. I'm taking this too seriously. Point is,
No,
new mission pitch.
that's the only way to get things out of things is to take them seriously.
Yeah.
So we're approaching this with 100% seriousness.
I think, take with many things that we push on this channel, you don't have to take our exact word for word things, but I do agree with the message at the bottom line of this, and I'm going to explain what that kind of message is as we go on. But
Before
for
we
now,
start with the name,
Labyrinthian task, which may not be the best name. Harry certainly doesn't like the task part of it, but Labyrinthian is to be into it because that's what it is, or at least that's where it came from. And I went for a Herculean task, it's like the saying, and then we're like, Labyrinthian task, that works, that'll do, because I didn't want to spend too long on the name. I did spend too long on the image though, like the I've forgotten the name. Let's go thumbnail. I mean, this is the thumbnail you're looking at.
the mission icon.
Yeah, that.
It's like a weird maze with See You in Hell logo slapped on top of it.
Yeah, which will make sense later. All of this, you'll look back and you'll see. Oh, that's why they're in the front, front slide. But I think let's get into this with the mission concept. This is. I was sitting there and I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a series of non-linear caves where it was like, and there already kind of is. Like currently, Elimination is quite non-linear in its design. But I was just thinking of like the small rooms you get in between bigger rooms in escort duties, because I was doing the other thing for that, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if there were like a series of those ones that you kind of just go in between, or like there's no straight path, you can just kind of make your way through them room by room. It kind of went a bit further than that, but that was my idea from the beginning, just to kind of.
Well, I can't remember who came up with it, but it was sort of agreed upon. Sick.
Yeah.
It was sort of agreed upon as this really cool idea of not necessarily the caves themselves being formed this way, but the tunnels between caves being pre-formed by something. Not naturally formed, but like manually formed, but they're already there. Unlike the Retta, which manually forms connective tunnels, but you see it happen. This is like old, but it's clearly something's dug these tunnels.
This is the idea that you really latched onto, and that I'm not 100% with, but I also don't hate by any means. But so it was this, and I actually forgot the other one. A 2-mission completion option, basically, which that's a weird way of putting it, but it's basically there are 2 primary objectives, and not like in the.
Did you hear that?
Yes, not like in the. Deep dives and that where you have to do both. There's two missions that you can do to complete, so you could do either and then go home. That's kind of the idea that I quite like and think would be because currently they're just trying to ramp up the scale of the single mission you have to do, where I think currently they could just give 2 simple missions in the same mission, which will then make it feel quite different. Like the same mission could be completed in 2 radically different ways, which I think is pretty cool. So running with these 2 ideas, this is kind of what I came up with. And this will be literally, if you don't want to stick around for any longer or like watch the whole video, this is it, okay? The very quick pitch, just getting it out of the way. Using the, Miner's Manual, like mission tutorial icons. Here's it. You mine Maze Unite, which if you know how labyrinths work, you can see how genius that name is.
But it's corn.
Yeah, and it's spelt like corn, so it also looks a bit fancier. Although, if you know it's corn, then it's less fancy. And you deposit that to complete the mission. Or you find it, or let it find you, being slightly vague there, in using the, Dreadnought stuff, and then fight the Coronator, which, if you know how labyrinths work as well, you could also kind of figure out everything else. Yeah.
How they work. It's just a Minotaur there, always.
Yeah, in every like corn labyrinth, or I didn't think of that. There are mazes. Oh, wow.
I did bring this up when we were talking about it.
Yeah, well, I wasn't listening.
But how would that factor into this?
Nothing. I just thought it's a funny coincidence. I think it's funny that there's mazes anyway, but then people call them corn mazes.
I thought I brought it up because it was a coincidence.
Well, yeah, I only put the maze because of autocorrect changed it for some
when
reason.
we were talking about this, I wouldn't have brought up the mazes unless you came up with Maze Unite. That's the only reason I brought it up. So whatever. I don't.
And then if you complete either of these, you can enter the escape part of the game, which all the new game modes seem to completely ignore. Like it's not even in the Miner's Manual segment.
Well, it's pretty negligible.
Thing is though, the fact that escape is in like all of the old game modes means it isn't. It was a fundamental part of the game that they've stopped caring about with the newer game modes.
What? Point extraction doesn't have it.
That's the survive one. Survive counts. The minute and a half after like mining extraction and salvage operation is the escape version of those stationary game modes. Point is, once you've done either of these, you do not have to do both. You can escape. That is my pitch, basically. And now to kind of getting more in the nitty-gritty details for the Ghost Ship Games developers that are currently watching this video right now as we speak.
Mikkel, I know you're watching.
Yeah.
Danish hunk.
Now, what's a mission without its cave format? And I mentioned the kind of plan I wanted for the format, but it really is a thing where, the game modes are more than the actual objectives. They're the way that they're formatted in their paths, I don't know how to put it, is actually really important on like the feel of the game modes. Like egg hunts being giant gaping rooms, mining expeditions being just a series of linear caves, although sometimes it gets a bit messy, but generally, and stuff like that. It gives them different feeling, and this big thing, which I hope works. I didn't actually check if all of it works, but oh yeah, there it is. That's the format, and it's a bit much to look at currently because it doesn't make much sense. So just put like varied room size. So basically, triangle ones are smaller rooms, like not anything special, just small little caves. The pentagon, 5 sides of pentagon, right? Yeah. Pentagons are slightly bigger.
That's a bit weird, isn't it? Pentagonal caves.
They are reasonably sized. They're like, I guess, standard caves. And then the middle one, the big cave, I think it's this caretaker-sized middle room. Like, the big ass room that the caretaker gets, which most of it's cleared out itself. But that kind of size is the middle room. And as you can probably tell, that's where the Minotaur resides, and the S is the spawn room. You spawn down there, and then you can kind of work your way around. Obviously, it's going to be less flat and linear as it is here, but this is generally the idea of what kind of non-linear spreading out format.
The cave will be a perfect triangle. It's like a perfect triangle, just like raised. It's not even like a pyramid. It's just a perfect triangle.
Shush.
That'd be weird.
And the equals are the dirt parts, basically. And just because while we're here, the smaller outer rooms aren't actually connected to the middle room, and this is going to be relevant a little bit later. Although drillers will do whatever the hell they feel all the time anyway, so it's just for the sake of the boss in the middle. But yeah, the tunnels, I want the tunnels between things to be as kind of contained as possible. But yeah. Now, Major Knight.
What if between the rooms there's like giant crevices filled with shellbacks?
That
so
would
you shouldn't dig through.
That would be horrific, and it would be pretty cool, but also horrific. Mainly horrific. No, entirely horrific.
Mainly horrific. Entirely horrific. Yeah. Utterly horrific.
Now, Major Knight, I kind of just thought would be a stereotypical mineral, and I've kind of got lost in a pretty cool idea, and I'm pretty sure this is the first thing. A guy made a mod of making red sugar yellow, and here is that. I just copied the thing on the page. TJK3, I think it's the mod maker, or at least it says publisher. I'm not sure if that's the same person. I assume it is, but he made a thing where red sugar is yellow, and that's basically exactly what I want Major Knight to be. Very similar to red sugar, but
sugar.
Yellow and a lot brighter generally. Like it actually lights it up like kind of like a normal flare would. And I think and this sort of first. There's also I've got the like varying amounts you need. Like first complexity, I guess is the term. 75, then 100, and 150.
That is the term.
Which I don't know. I think that's like a medium. You know, it's not as much as thingy like Morkite, so it's like a bit less. So it feels different as well. Just visually, that you have to collect kind of less than Morkite. But they mainly only, and by mainly only I mean if it's possible, exclusively on ceilings and walls, like higher up. So it lights up like the roof of the cave a lot, but generally the bottom is still dark enough for you to need to light it up yourself. And
so it's like all. I remember you telling me that it was all not on the floor.
Yeah.
But it's quite high up.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah, they are actively kind of like stars in the sky kind of thing. And each vein, crystal formation, you call it gives you about 7 to 12, which I think generally they do give you different amounts, you know, vein size. So for like the simple hazard, you'd need like 7 to 8 veins of Major Knight. And then obviously you need quite a few for the final one, which means you'd have to go further into the cave, increasing your risk basically, so which we'll get onto a bit more, and the final one, which I think ominously denotes something, when he is near, Major Knight dims to the point where they basically go out. So if the boss is like in the room with you, then you can't really mine Major Knight because you can't see it. It just basically dims out and disappears. So you kind of have to deal with him before you can continue on mining the Major Knight. Unless you already kind of know where they are. That's obviously fine. But yeah, it's harder to complete the objective when the boss is around. Which I think no more pussyfooting around. The Coronator, which I originally had Minorona, but then Harry kept telling me that was a really dumb name and put this one.
Actually, that's not true. I just said Coronator's better, and Tyler, for some reason, took more than 2 seconds to realise I was right.
It took me about 2 days.
Because I'm right, it's a much better name.
Yeah, but as you can probably guess, about like you could probably guess to what it looks like anyway. But I did throw together a couple of sketches about what I generally want it to look like, and obviously they don't actually have to take any details of this. I just want like a boss. But
when they make this game mode,
yeah, obviously
they don't have to do it exactly like this.
Yeah, I'm kind enough to allow them a bit of wiggle room, you know. But okay, I didn't realize a Corona-based boss, as you can probably gather, and it looks like this. It is a Corona, yes, but it has glowing red eyes and the horns. And it basically, I designed the face bit to be see you in hell. because I was drawing the horns just literally just straight up, just like, okay, Minotaur has horns, and then I immediately just like, see you in hell, and everything kind of spiraled off there. And there's other angles.
You do the nose ring as well.
Yeah.
It's nose ring.
Yeah, and that one I'm not fond of, but that's the front side, and there's the back side. I think it looks pretty cool, first of all. It probably would look better in game, but just a very large, very like threatening Coronator, or Corona.
I mean, I'd want it to be bigger personally.
I think I would like it to be bigger. I'm not really sure if that's actually that much bigger than a normal Corona.
Yeah.
But I also don't
want
want
it's in like this weird position where it's not like, I don't feel like this is actually like the king of the Coronas or anything. It feels more like a guardian of a specific place, of like their breeding grounds. It doesn't feel like a leader.
Isn't that what like the Minotaur is?
It doesn't. Yeah, I think so. But to me, this doesn't strike me as something that. This is getting more conceptual, but I do want to talk about these things. This is what I'm more interested in. I don't think this is something that necessarily. It doesn't really feel like a grown-up Corona. It feels like this very specific evolution, almost
it's
like
ants, and they're like fighter ants, or like which I think is a thing. It was a thing in.
Well, it's more like an oppressor than a dreadnought, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Conceptually, but in gameplay-wise, it's a boss.
Yeah, and a full-on one at that, which we'll get into a bit more. But yeah, I think obviously it could do with being a bit bigger. But I just want it to be, at the very least, intimidating as all hell. And I think, other than the vagina phase, it is that.
Don't say that. I was avoiding saying that.
Yeah, just because it is.
You could have just mentioned the face. You didn't have to say the word. You could have pointed it out and said, this is an old design.
Is that they look really scuffed. And that's not just my drawing of it. Look at the bloody gate. Right, it's also got teeth in there, so I wouldn't risk it. Point is,
like Pinsir, the Pokemon.
Yeah,
I wouldn't risk it.
It resides in the middle room, and I'm just gonna finish this page because I don't know how far I get into. All right, yeah, we'll leave after an amount of time. So basically, let's say the first 5 minutes, it's sleeping. Basically, it's just kind of chilling out, minding its own business. But eventually, it notices that you're like someone's intruded, basically, that there's something amiss. So after about 5 minutes, it will start moving, and you can kind of like hear it ball form, like hitting against the middle walls. And after 10 minutes through the mission, or I don't know, maybe give or take, but he will escape. He will basically mine or like roll up and then charge through a dirt wall, and then kind of like roll his way or crawl his way into whatever room he ends up being. I mean, that's kind of RNG, but he'll just pick a dirt wall that's connected to his main room and then just move.
Do you know
out.
what would be pretty awesome? Because obviously, if you look at the plating on its back, they go towards, like, they flare up towards the back. Like the plates, they go up. I imagine he would actually to dig. He would spin the other way, basically. So like where they're sort of poking out, they would actually be going against the dirt instead of
and like scooping it out
instead of rolling off it. Yeah.
Point is,
that's just it's good detail. We like that.
And it will be like, it's not something that can just happen without you knowing. It's like in like Magma Core, or when the ground vibrates and shakes. That's what happens when he leaves the thing. Like, he is now on the prowl, trying to get your ass. Like, and it's gonna be like a thing. And he isn't, like, because of the way the cave's designed, he isn't inherently going to be able to find you immediately. Like he has a higher chance of going further back in the cave. Because, like, he can dig straight into, like, basically the spawn room, if you're unlucky enough. But he can also end up going on the other side. But eventually, like, maybe another 5 minutes, he'll break another dirt wall. And slowly but surely, he'll make his way around the cave. Which I think is where we move on. To the actual fight itself. Now, I didn't get rid of it, but there's he has 5 segments, basically. Like, most bosses only really have, like, 3. I think, Caretaker has 3, Corlock has 3. Point is, he has 5 segments, and they are they are kind of split up the fight because you don't have to kill him, right? But you will need to you will fight him in this mission. Even if the quickest mission, you should really, and I'm not sure if the AI can enforce this, but you should bump into him at least once. But I think, yeah.
Oh, hold on. So I do have a couple questions. First one is on the illustrations. There's no clear indication of the 5 segments. Is it like different parts of his body? Are there different things? Is it like the horns and like the eye and the thing in his tail?
I think
the different segments.
Well, as I probably should mention, I'll mention it now. He does kind of decay, right? Like after each fight, because you can destroy his back armor, right? Like you can. He's probably tougher than a normal one, like a normal Corlock's armor. I'm not sure if you can do that actually, though. I think there's not.
So is the segments more of just a health threshold?
Segments is mostly just like a health bar conceptual thing. But I did mention to you, Harry, that I kind of want it to be where once he's gotten down to 2 health segments left, whatever eye you shot at the most, the front one or the back one, will pop, basically. And from then on, he will fight you exclusively using that side of his body. So if you were to just be shooting the front of him, which makes sense, eventually that eye will pop, and then he'll basically flip around. And now from now on, you'll be fighting him from like his back, which is basically just covered in armor plating, and like it'll be very hard to actually hit anything other than his bottom eye. And preferably I want his like moves to change, but we'll get to that. But yeah, so like the fight each segment will kind of change up the fight in some way. But mainly, if you get rid of a segment, which I think this next one has 1,000 health, generally, like if there's 4 players on a hazard 1, it has 1,000. If there's 2 players on a hazard 5, it's 1,000, which are linked up, and then there's a big ass graph on like the wiki for other stuff like that. But generally, he'll have like 5,000 health. And if you get rid of a segment, he flees. He runs all the way back to his nest and kind of heals up. Not literally. He doesn't gain back the segment. But if you broke any armor, the armor will come back. That kind of stuff. And then after maybe another 5 minutes, he'll come back to roaming around. Like he will, start messing with you again. And rinse, repeat. But you shouldn't really have to. But rinse, repeat. If you kill him, you can leave. Basically, like if he's killed, the mission controller will be like, okay, if you kill the fella, then we'll just send some like simple robots to mine the Major Knight. You guys don't need to be down here anymore. Something like that. Like the mission is done. The place is now safe. Basically, it's been conquered. So you can leave. So that's like the alternate ending. You either mine enough Major Knight to do it, or you fight the boss. However, you don't actually have to wait for him to wander towards you 5 times. If
you can go to the center, right?
Literally,
that's the idea.
Almost immediately. You spawn room, dirt wall room, go through the front dirt wall in that room, and you will be in the big room, and you could fight him in there, which will be the easiest place to fight him because it's the biggest area to do so. But
is it stronger in there, or is it just like there's just more stuff?
I think
Coronas.
I think it might do something, because if you were to be doing it the normal route, but then you realise you could fight him in the middle room, which I don't really want. I want him to be a hard enough fight to where you either got to fight his ass or run away from, or like just like try and get away from him, right? Like obviously like break him, but then try and get for Angel as quickly as you can. I don't want you to have enough nitro or enough damage output to easily kill him and do the
this is why I think a good idea would be it doesn't really matter when you do it, even if you've already damaged him. If you go to the center to fight him, he'll be on full health again, I think, because otherwise it's almost like it wouldn't make much sense to actually do the mission normally, just getting Major Knight. You would sort of just hang around, wait for him to get low from those normal encounters. I feel like if you want to do it that way, you have to do it that way. And there'll be the middle ground is you just let him come to you enough times. But maybe it won't. Then that doesn't really make sense either. Oh yeah, you said at 2 segments it will just keep coming after you, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I don't know.
So I think there should be an element of choosing to engage him most of the time, even when it's stalking you. it shouldn't necessarily just engage you on its own terms.
Yeah.
Because I think that would take away from the point. It would sort of make it like dubious as to why you do the main objective normally, instead of just focusing on him. So.
Yeah. I just want to find a balance, which I don't think I have found, but I think, if the people that knew what they were doing were to find this idea, they probably could. But a level to where you go into that mission either resigning yourself to, okay, we're packing light, we're packing speed, right? We're going to go in there and we're going to quickly grab all the Major Knight and we're going to leave. Or you go in there and you're like, we're going to kick the shit out of this boss, right? And you go in there packing for a fight. One or the other, right? And if you go in the middle ground,
that's
then
actually a really cool idea, by the way.
Yeah.
Just in general. It's even more so than something like the Caretaker or an elimination mission. You still have other stuff to deal with. And you will in this, but it's even more focused. But that's not all the mission is. It's an even more focused boss fight, but that's only one half.
And plus, I don't want this to be any fancier than I don't really want it, but like an escort duty, like a newer type, but like higher stakes mission. I don't want it to be like an industrial sabotage. I want this to just appear in deep dives, and then so if you've gone into the deep dive equipping for like fights and like bosses and shit, then you'll do that route. But if you've been packing light for the deep dive, you'll do the Major Knight because you won't be able to take the Corona, like stuff like that. Like, I don't know, I think it'll be interesting because then also if you're fighting him and you kind of realize you're going to lose, you could back off. I think I want that to be like an option as well. Like, I don't want you to be able, like, I want there to be able to basically do it however you want, but I want there to be like a wall generally. Maybe either pick one side or the other, but then if you kind of regret one side halfway through, I think you should be allowed to, but only if you're good enough and you've like saved enough nitro, stuff like that.
Well, wasn't the point that it stays in darkness?
Yeah, which is another thing I never actually mentioned, but yeah, he actively thrives to not be lit up, right? Like, that's why the Major Knight kind of dims, to bathe him in darkness, to make him harder to see. And I also want him to, when he's not in bull form, to be very quiet. I want him to very easily sneak up, yeah, like, if you don't realise it. And then he has to be pretty close to actually engage you in a fight. But then at that point, you're going to be like, ah! And then you have like a giant, like, nightmare fuel Corona that's like next to you. But like, yeah, it will, yeah. And also, there was a semi-feature that I really want to add, but it's unreasonable. But I want him to dim or like deplete normal flares a lot quicker. Which I know is unreasonable and not realistic, but it would kind of add to the darkening of the area that he kind of does. But also I want it to boost Scout's flares, because this is an agenda I want to push as well. Because generally as a whole, picking Scout isn't really the best idea. Like, picking Scout never really increases your chances of completing a mission. Mainly you just do it quicker if you're good enough. But I want that to not be the case. I want Scout to actually maybe be the best character for this, which is why the Major Knight's on the ceilings. So picking it as a Scout is a pretty good shout to get in the minerals a lot easier. Flares will allow you to fight the boss easier. Stuff like that. Kind of boosting up Scout's usefulness in at least this game mode alone. And I probably would use Scout.
Well, I think Scout immediately occurs to me as more useful because this mission type is almost specifically not swarm focused. It's other things. Now, I don't really know what you would call a swarm focused mission type. Probably, weirdly enough, probably salvage op. No, yeah, an egg hunt. But like, objective based is weird. I guess mineral based is probably another one, which would be like point extraction and mine expedition. It's weird. I don't think those two can necessarily be separated, but here they kind of are. As in, there's no swarms. There are ambushes, though, obviously. Yeah, there's no swarms in this mission type, right?
No.
So it's almost like it's very either collecting focused or boss focused, which to me is like, oh, Scout. So it suits him, and that's nice, I guess, because I don't think that's a non-existent concept in game already. Mission type suiting other characters more. Like refineries suiting drillers and engineers.
Yeah, and point extraction driller as well. You know, just driller suits a lot of them, but I don't know.
To me, gunner does suit industrial sabotage and elimination more than anyone else.
Point extraction,
more than
not
anyone
point extraction.
else.
What's the mini mule one? That fits him quite well.
Salvage job, yeah, sure, and engineer.
Yeah. Point is, but you notice how we never really mentioned Scout in any of those. Like, he's not inherently worse than everyone else in some of them. Sometimes he is, but there just isn't really a game mode where I'm like, Scout, that's the person I want to play. Like, you know, like that's the asset to our team, is to pick that character, and I want that to be this mission.
Egg hunts and point expansions are the only ones where I'm kind of okay with playing Scout and solo.
And I also want
is like neutral in my opinion.
I also want his flares to be more important as well, to bring them up into the limelight, if you but yeah, that's just
the spotlight.
Yeah, that would just be a funky thing that I think I'd like to push along with this as well, like a Scout main mission. But I think now is the boss's actual moves. Now, I didn't actually write down some of the ideas I had for like his moves itself, but I put the kind of general things that I think they could pick from. Like, not like pick from, but like example, Corona based moves. So he will have an attack where he rolls up into a ball and just starts balling. You know what I mean? That's what he'll do. He's a Corona. He'll just do that. He'll have the spraying horde disgusting attack as well that I absolutely despise. How do they do that? Why do they have that as an option?
Because they got stomach acid problems.
Yeah, he'll have one of them.
I need to get it out, but it'd be magma in this case.
Yeah. So he'll have one of them, and maybe some other ones that they kind of make up. Obviously, the tunneling through terrain one, but that's not really an attack. I mean, I guess it probably would be considered that, but you know what I mean. Then there is the See You in Hell based mood, because I want his visual likeness to See You in Hell to not be artificial. I want him to be what See You in Hell is. See You in Hell was designed to replicate the Coronator, right? They took his image and they took his abilities and they turned it into a perk, right? I want that to be the in canon reason for why See You in Hell is what it is, right?
Maybe it can be blue because it could be like Godzilla's atomic breath, where what are they called, the dorsal plates, they sort of go one at a time, they turn blue. I want the same thing, but for like the Coronator's back plates, and it goes up to the horns, and the horns turn blue, and then it releases the blast. Yeah,
but this is what I'm thinking. You get him down to one segment, he'll roll up into a ball, and he releases the See You in Hell. No. Yeah. Or actually, maybe every time, but I'm thinking last segment at least, and that's one where if you're in like the same cave as him, you're dead. Or you have to I don't know, if you're a driller, you need to drill down. Hell,
it would be his way of almost charging a roll for him to get away at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense for when you deplete a segment, he'll sort of roll and charge up and then blast away.
Yeah. And then I'm thinking his horns will have a ranged attack where it's electricity kind of See You in Hell effect, where he'll shoot you down or something like that. He will have See You in Hell based moves, if you know what I mean. Just some funky things with that, which I think could be pretty cool. And then there are just some other ones like Minotaur based moves, which I'm thinking less so, but I don't know.
You can just charge,
yeah,
because it's got more legs. It's got more legs than normal shell back, so it could actually run.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And also, I mean, I didn't actually write it down here, but when he's flipped on his the other way around, he kind of looked quite Scorpion. I don't know if you noticed, and you probably did because I probably didn't keep it up long enough. But he's not just a woodlouse anymore, which I'm not sure if what other people call them. But
so would the legs flip as well?
Oh no, the legs are still as they are, but now the little ones are the main ones, basically. Yeah, if he's been turned around. And it kind of makes him look like a scorpion, and a centipede kind of thing.
It's the scorpion tail with the horns.
Yeah, it would be then.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
I'm thinking they could still be ranged, or they could now be like a scorpion tail in that they grab down and grab you, basically.
Like the Nemesis.
Yeah, which I'm sure people have just squirmed in their seat. But yeah, I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool. And
Ain't a
then
pussy.
I had this one when I originally thought that it was going to be more of a mother, but as Harry mentioned, it doesn't really look of it, but like a queen base. So, you know, the average summons other
Well, you could have even
Coronas.
smaller younglings that like these like molten like black younglings that are even smaller than the other younglings. They're like more like swarmers.
Yeah.
The shellbacks that sort of roll off him. And
Yeah.
they roll around.
So just kind of like,
And then
you know,
they die when they hit you even. Maybe they're like the suicide things.
they're like little bombs, yeah. Just a general like, reproducing, because this is like a Corona
ticks.
nest, basically. Yeah, like this is like supposed to be
ticking
their
time bombs.
their
They're
home.
like ticks because they're small.
And so she like all the Coronator just starts throwing babies at you basically to try and kill you, which is funny. And any other move which is like interesting, I don't know. I can't really think of many. It could maybe use that giant mouth to eat you or something like that.
It could like curl you up inside it.
Yeah.
That's horrible. And digest you.
Or you like eat a bunch of dirt on the ground and then spit it at you. Stuff like that. Like, I don't know. There are a lot of options, and I think
Go wild, go straight.
Corona bosses as a whole could be very interesting, I think. And if you add a see you in hell element, I think even more so, which is why I really like this idea. But generally, I think I also just want it to, every time you break a segment, for the move set to kind of change. Maybe add a new one, basically. Like come near the end, they're like it's trying to like suicide or throw stuff at you, like the final resort stuff. Stuff like that. And eventually he'll be like flipped. Like come the second segment, he'll be like flipped, or not flipped. It varies, depends on where you shot him the most. Stuff like that, where each segment is kind of a different fight against the same enemy. I want that kind of feeling, basically. But I think it'll be interesting at the very least. But obviously they don't have to go with a Corona. But yeah, and I think point is, to kind of sum up, I want like a stealth-based game mode where more, because the game doesn't really have stealth as a whole, but like where you kind of have to, you're immersed in darkness and you're kind of like snuffing out lights as well, because when you mine the I didn't mention that when you mine the maze unite, it will like turn off basically because you mined it, so the cave will be getting darker as you harvest more, and then you'll kind of be residing in the darkness with like the creature lurking nearby as far as you know, with like a horror based minotaur boss that hunts you down, because the game really likes stationary bosses, and I kind of want to move away from that, and actually have them kind of coming down on you, which I think is a more interesting thing to do. But I'm not sure if Harry's still here. Harry, are you here? Thought as much. He's never normally that quiet. I think in his absence, I'm just going to thank you all for watching. This will be a lot quicker than normal, considering it's just me. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really just saying what you're reading. And remember, rock and stone equals like and subscribe. Not that we've actually said that in a while, but I just used this final slide and everything. And please.